Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Cars Hour, and welcome to what is essentially my first automotive review. And I am so glad that I am reviewing this thing. This, ladies and gentlemen, is my 2014 Brabus 730 E63 Amg. Does have 730 horsepower right now. It wasn't always this fast. In fact, when I got the car, it made a measly 557 horsepower, since it is the E63 non-S variant. And that, although respectable, was nothing to be proud of. I mean, from the day I got the car, I felt like the car needed more. And to be honest, the car felt like it wanted more as well. So to rectify this issue, what I did was send the car to Brabus in the Middle East, Dubai to be exact, and by fitting upgraded turbos as well as a sport catted exhaust system, they were able to up the horsepower tremendously. Under my right foot is quite literally a nuclear bomb waiting to go off. I have access to an incredible 730 horsepower and 785 pound-feet of torque, which Brabus has had to electronically limit, by the way. I'm assuming if they hadn't, this car would have torn both its diff and its occupants to pieces. As a result of all this firepower, the Brabus 730 is able to go to 60 miles an hour in 3.7 seconds and run the quarter mile in a respectable 11.4. For a 4,000 pound sedan, those numbers are not too bad on the street. I mean, the way this car is able to gather speed is tremendous, especially considering its size. You walk up to this thing thinking, okay, it's an AMG, I'm sure it's quick, but the mind truly cannot comprehend how fast it really is until you drive it. The numbers it goes from 0 to incredibly illegal very, very quickly. Now, mind you, we are on a closed surface. We have asked the local authorities to help us with the filming of this video, and they have very, very graciously obliged. So just letting you know that everything I'm doing is, to an extent, a little bit legal. Well, to whatever extent it can be, that is. Anyway, getting back to the car. It has 730 horsepower, and honestly it feels it, with the car being able to make peak torque from idle all the way up to 5,500 RPM. That's 80% of your rev range that you're making peak torque. And then there's the fact that it sounds the way it does. I mean, 5.5 liters of AMG V8 growling away behind your ears. It's quite literally like having a pack of hungry lions in the boot. It's incredible, it's absurd. You would never expect a car to look like this and be as fast as it is. It's sensational. I'm sure you can tell by now that this car is special, and trust me, it is. I mean, it has 730 horsepower and it makes a noise like that. But what's most special to me is this car's uncanny capability of masking its horsepower. Put everything in comfort mode, as I have actually just done, and it goes from being a 730 horsepower super saloon into effectively becoming a regular normal E-Class. It's quiet, it's comfortable, it's still very spacious, of course, that's the chassis it's made on. But everything that was aggressive about it just a minute ago isn't anymore. It's spacious, however, so you could go to the golf club in it while carrying your entire family, and 2 sets of golf bags. You could blend into the city streets, you could go unnoticed. No one would know that you have 730 horsepower. And that really is special, the fact that this car is able to mask its horsepower so effectively. In fact, if your average Joe were to sit in this car, he wouldn't be able to tell it apart from a standard E200. But it isn't an E200, it's an AMG. And if you press the AMG button like I've just done, the electronics firm up the suspension, reduce the intrusiveness of the traction control, and speeden up gear changes as well as throttle response. And that's when this car really shows its split personality. It's able to transform in quite literally the flick of a switch. Now, yeah, all that horsepower is incredible, don't get me wrong, but there is one major downside to all this horsepower. In fact, two, but let's start with the first one, and that is this car's fuel economy. I often get asked by people I meet what this car runs in terms of mileage, and to be frankly honest, I cannot tell you. The onboard computer goes up to 30 liters per 100 kilometer, which the mile per gallon conversion will be in the subtitles. And that's where this car's scale maxes out. And that's what I am constantly running. 30 liters per 100 kilometer. I mean, I do not know what the actual fuel economy of this car is, because the onboard computer just doesn't go any higher than that. So that's the first downside. And the second downside to all this horsepower is the tires. In my 6-year ownership of this vehicle, I kid you not, I've gone through over 95 sets of rear tires, including my drift set, my drag set, and my daily driver tires. But 95 sets in 60,000 kilometers? That's a steep bill. So, of course, with this car having 730 horsepower and massive torque and whatnot, it's sort of a given that it would be good in a straight line. But what happens when you show this car some corners? Well, I've put the AMG Ride Control in Sport Plus, so let's find out. I mean, honestly, it's not too bad. You'd expect it to be a lot worse. It can sort of handle the corners to a certain extent, but it's not exactly the happiest following the racing line. And you're constantly aware of that while driving this car. The traction control and the rear tires are in some sort of an argument at all times. I mean, no matter how gingerly you apply the throttle, it's nearly impossible to get all the horsepower out of the car. So you might be asking yourself, what if you turn traction control off? And well, let's find out what happens when you turn traction control off. That's what happens when you turn traction control off. And to be honest, there is really no other way to drive an AMG. Yes, it's not as sharp as your Audi RS's or your BMW M5s, but that really doesn't matter. In fact, you don't buy an AMG to carve up a back road. You buy an AMG to do this. Well, to do this. This car is probably, hand on heart, I've driven a lot of cars. I've driven Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Porsches, but for some reason, I find myself coming back to this as being the one car. If I had one car in my garage, I don't think I would own anything else. And that's, I don't know, that's what this car's magic is all about. It's able to make you feel like nothing else out there. And for that reason alone, I think this is probably my favorite car ever. I think definitely my favorite car ever. That I have owned, of course. I'm sure there are other cars out there that are better, but still, that's besides the point. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned in this place for a lot more car reviews. Hopefully a lot more cars here in Pakistan as well as all over the world. I really appreciate your guys' response both on my first video on YouTube as well as Instagram. Let me know down in the comments section what you would like to see next. Whether there's any cars in Pakistan that you want to see reviewed. Hopefully I can get access to all of them. And yeah, I mean, this is, I guess cars are out.